He's a best-selling author, a radio and TV broadcaster, screenwriter. The list goes on. And as we're learning today, a humanitarian as well.
That's right. Tuesdays with Morrie, one of the most touching books I've ever read. And the man behind it, Mitch Albom, here with us talking about a very different story about children growing up in an orphanage in Haiti.
Now, you have an event in Grand Rapids next month. And so if anyone has read your work or knows a little bit about what you do, you have this common thing. And I was trying to think, yesterday of what it was. And it seems like you really are attracted to very vulnerable people. You tell their story very well.
Well, that's probably true. Certainly in the case of Haiti, I don't think I've ever seen in my life, and I've been exposed to a lot of things, anything as devastating as what I've seen down there. I went down a few weeks after the earthquake just to see what was going on and got involved with this particular mission orphanage that they thought had been destroyed and that all the kids had been killed. That's why I went down there. It turned out they had been spared. It was a building across the street. It was started by a Michigan pastor about 25, 30 years ago. And as you may know, the earthquake killed over 300,000 people. That's 3% of their population. If that was America, that would basically be 9 million people dead like that. And another million people were left homeless, which is a tenth of their population. If that was America, that'd be 30 million homeless people walking around. So you can imagine what the country was just in rubble and shambles, and there's all these children literally living in the street. As time went on, I got more involved with this mission. I began going back every month, and a few months later, I found out that they were out of money, and basically the kids were eating 1 cup of rice a day. They were sleeping in the dirt. They had no bathrooms, no showers, no toilets. They were using holes in the ground, no education. So I offered to take it over. I run a number of charities, and I said, listen, I can't be here and not do something about this. And that's what I did. And ever since then, we've been operating this mission. It's called the Have Faith Haiti mission. And it's sort of Michigan's connection to Haiti, I like to call it, because everybody wants to help down in Haiti, but a lot of people don't know how.
Right.
And a lot of people feel very frustrated. Well, if I just give money to this agency, how do I know it gets to? I've been reading stories that the money isn't getting to the people. Well, in our case, everything that we raise goes right to these particular children. We have no administrative costs, no paper clips, no paperwork. I put in my own money to it the same way. And we're hoping on this event on the 20th, I've never spoken about it in public before. I've told people privately. But I'm going to come out, I'm going to tell the whole story of everything I've seen. And I've seen a lot, from the smell of dead bodies when we first went down there, to parents who come in, or uncles or grandparents who have 3 children under their arms, who are willing to just hand them over to me.
I have heard that over and over again from people that have visited there, that it is so bad that they're saying, take my children with you. I mean, does that break your heart? Or what?
It breaks my heart more when I say I can't do it, because I don't have the ability to take in every child that's starving or hungry. But I know people here in Grand Rapids in particular, very family-oriented. Could you imagine taking a 2 or 3-year-old, bringing him into a place, and at that same moment saying, take him till he's 18 or 19, not because they don't care, but because they know that we'll feed them, because we give them 3 meals a day. It's unheard of in Haiti. We'll educate them. We have a school on the premises that we built. We teach in English for 4 hours in the morning and French for 3 hours in the afternoon. They'll never get that, because in Haiti you have to pay for your education, and you have to literally pay to go to kindergarten, and nobody has the money. And we have health for them. We have a nurse on staff and doctors, but it obviously costs money. And so I'm coming out to the Wealthy Theater, which is kind of an
ironic
name.
Name for the streets and not for the dollar.
Let's hope it is that night, anyhow.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell the story about Haiti. I'm going to bring with me a young woman who grew up at this mission and can talk about what it's like to grow up there and survive the earthquake. We've got a film of what went on there, about 15 minutes, and a lot of photos from a local photographer here, Brian Kelly.
He's
well
amazing. We've been looking at him, and they're just like, the photos tell that story too. I mean, it's probably nothing like being there, but you see those
next
and
best
those.
thing.
Well, and you think, you look at a place like Haiti, so vulnerable, because they were already reeling from tropical storm before the earthquake hit, and they're in a vulnerable area still.
Well, even now, 2 years plus after the earthquake, you see what we call tent cities, if you could call them that. They literally are 2 pieces of tin pushed together with a tarp over it, and you see little babies sitting in dirty pools of water while there be a big pig or a boar drinking from the same water that the baby is a foot away from. So hygiene, health, hunger, these are things that we take so for granted here. So if people say, well, I live in Grand Rapids or I live in Michigan, what do I care? What do I have to help in Haiti? If you care because they're children, and it doesn't matter where they live.
We're human beings.
They're human beings, and this is literally what we do down there is the difference between them living or dying. I can honestly say, I can't say I've ever been involved with anything like that except there. So we're here to kind of ask people to come on the 20th if they're around, if they'd like to join us. If there's corporate people out there who want to offer sponsorships, they can find out by contacting the Wealthy Theater or contacting, well, I'm sure you have the information here.
Right.
And I've always had a very good reception whenever I've come to Grand Rapids, and I know the people up here are very caring and very giving, and I'm hoping on that night they'll be the same.
Mitch, you've obviously been changed to this experience, and that's why you took this on. That's why you visited so many times. You know, really, what is the one thing that you think has changed in you? Because you've met a lot of people. You tell a lot of people's stories. What's the one thing there that makes you not be the same person you used to be?
Well, I think as much as I've tried to, be sensitive and write about sensitive things, we are so blessed in America that we don't even realize when we think we're being sensitive when we're being insensitive. We don't realize that when we get into our cars or go to work or go to a movie that we're spending time or money, that there's someone half a world away, that would be the biggest moment of their life. And when I started talking to these kids about the food that they'd eaten in their lives, and I said, well, have you ever had a hamburger? What's a hamburger? Have you ever had a piece of cake? What's a cake? Have you ever had ice cream? What is it? What does it taste like? They're curious, I realized that every day you go through something in your life that you take for granted here in America, that if you just give 5 minutes of your time or one day, or I go down every month to Haiti. I spend 3 days, 4 days down there. It sounds like a lot, but I spend 27 days a month living in the greatest country in the world.
Exactly.
So I think that's probably been the biggest thing, that I realize even as I'm sitting here with you and I'm looking at those pictures, I'm remembering, oh yeah, I gotta get shots for that one there, or we forgot to get a school book for that one. So I just think it's knowing that there's parts of the world that you can do some good in, and I've been given this nice platform in life to write or to speak on shows like yours. I think you have to use it for the good.
Well, thank you for sharing it with us. I was telling you before we started the segment, The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. It was a book that just, I so much, it touched me. And you were sharing with me you have a new book that's coming out this fall.
I'll probably be back here again for that.
Let's
More
hope
commercial
so.
purposes.
You're welcome.
Exactly.
What is it called?
It's called The Timekeeper. It's a novel, and it's probably the thing I've done that's most like The 5 People You Meet in Heaven since that book. It's very magical. It's about the kind of story about Father Time, only I invent this whole legend of who Father Time really was. And it turns out he was the first person on Earth way, way back at the beginning to begin to measure time. And that was a mistake, because we're not supposed to be measuring our time. We're supposed to be living our time. And so he gets punished, and he becomes this old man with an hourglass and all the rest of it. So it's hopefully, people like it. But we'll come back and talk about that in September if you want.
I'd love to see your imagination, because
it's all over the place.
What gets on the paper is only probably scratching the surface of what's really inside.
It's a big sloppy mess all over my office floor.
I feel like we've gotten to see your heart, and that's a beautiful thing. Thank you for being here today with us.
Thank you for sharing your hearts with me and anyone who come on the 20th. I thank you in advance. We'll look forward to meeting them and talking to them and answering any questions they have, and we'll show a lot of these photos and images and pictures too.
You can get tickets to the Wealthy Street Theater box office, so we have that number on our website. Got it right there. We're going to put it in our show notes. And so, Mitch, it's been such a pleasure having you here today, and we wish you all the best in all the amazing things that you're doing.
It's very kind of you to have me on. Thank you.
We'll be right back.